Under the Senatus Consultum of 19 AD, a freeborn Roman woman who spoke a single sentence lost her legal identity before she threw a single punch. Not after combat, not after defeat. The oath itself was the trigger. Rome, 19 AD. Her name is Amazon. She kneels on sand inside a ludus, a gladiatorial school, and the lanista extends a wooden sword toward her, the rudis, worn smooth at the handle from 100 hands before hers. Every male gladiator in this yard has been bleeding for years toward the moment an emperor extends one of these. It is the prize, the symbol of liberation, the thing they survived toward. Amazon knows this. Her fingers close around it anyway. The words take less than 30 seconds. Uri vinciri veverari ferok necari. To be burned, bound, beaten, slain by iron. She speaks them clearly, in the prescribed order, in full view of the lanista and his witnesses. The oath is not a declaration of intent. Under Roman law, it is an administrative trigger. The moment those words leave her mouth, a legal classification activates inside Rome's records. A classification the Senate spent the previous year constructing specifically to stop women like her from making this choice. It didn't work. She is proof of that. She hasn't fought yet. In 19 AD, the Roman Senate passed a decree that Tacitus recorded in Annales, Book 2, Chapter 85. The language was precise, deliberate. It targeted freeborn women of equestrian and senatorial rank. Rome's elite, not slaves, not the condemned, women whose fathers sat in the chamber that passed this very law. The decree named the contract that activated it, the Auctoramentum, the gladiatorial agreement that surrendered a person's bodily autonomy to the lanista who ran their school. And it named the consequence, Infamia, one word, one legal classification. Roman law's version of erasure. If Rome's buried laws are the kind of history you want more of, subscribe. There's worse underneath. The Senate's target was specific because the problem was specific. By 19 AD, women from Rome's most powerful families were appearing in gladiatorial schools, voluntarily. The decree didn't emerge from abstract moral concern. It emerged because senators were watching their own daughters walk through ludus gates and sign contracts. The legal response they built was engineered to be inescapable. One oath, one signature, no appeal, no reversal clause. No mechanism to walk it back once the paperwork filed. What Infamia actually meant in practice. The specific rights it stripped, the specific protections it dissolved. The Senate itemized every consequence with the precision of men who wanted no ambiguity left in the punishment. That accounting is coming. But understand what the decree built first. A legal architecture so tightly constructed that the moment Amazon spoke those words, every door behind her sealed simultaneously. She signed the Auctoramentum. The lanista filed it. Rome's records processed her name under a new classification. She is still standing on the same sand. Nothing visible has changed, Pedish. And the Senate's law has already finished with her. The Senate designed this to stop women from entering the arena. It didn't stop them. That is the sentence that kept an emperor awake 2 centuries later, and eventually forced his hand. Every gladiatorial match in Rome ran on law. The sand, the torches, the roaring crowd. Popular history keeps those. What it quietly removes is the magistrate sitting above the arena, with authority equivalent to a presiding judge, the munerius. He approved fighter contracts before a single match was scheduled. He determined pairings. He issued missio, the binding legal verdict of honourable release, and his ruling carried the same weight as a court decision. The lanistae who ran gladiatorial schools operated under the praetor's jurisdiction. Training rations, medical treatment, match scheduling, all codified. A chief referee called the Summa Rudis circled every bout, watching for illegal strikes, with authority to stop the fight. Rules of engagement, documented outcomes. Permanent records, the arena was a courtroom. The swords were just the evidence. For Amazon, this meant something she understood before she signed. Every step forward, oath, contract, training, combat, verdict, generated a document inside Rome's record. There was no informal participation, no grey area the law hadn't already mapped. She had walked into a legal proceeding, and it would run its course whether she survived the sand or not. The munerius watching from above wasn't cheering her name. He was adjudicating her classification. She wraps leather around her forearms in a cell beneath the ludus. She has heard the law. She picks up a sword anyway. The Auctoramentum under Lex Alia Sentia was unambiguous. A freeborn citizen who signed surrendered bodily autonomy to the lanista, not partially, not conditionally, completely. The document legally authorized burning, binding, beating, and killing the signatory. Amazon pressed her mark onto it. The ink dried. Training began before sunrise the next morning. The doctor drives her through sword drills, against the palace. The wooden training post sunk into the yard, until her knuckles split and blood runs slick down the rudis handle. 60 repetitions. Pain in her hands stops registering around the 40th. Then 60 more. She spars with a convicted murderer twice her weight. His wooden blade cracks across her ribs with a sound like green wood snapping. She drops to one knee. The impact spreads white across her left side and doesn't fade for 8 days. The doctor hauls her up by the arm without speaking. She fights again, across the yard, mounted on the stone wall. A ceremonial rudis, polished, the real one. The kind an emperor extends to veterans who survive long enough to earn manumission. Formal liberation, citizenship restored, legal identity returned whole. The male gladiators glance at it, the way men look at things they have decided to believe in. Amazon has looked at it once. She knows what it represents for them. She knows it cannot represent the same thing for her. The law has already seen to that. No one needed to explain it directly. Roman law rarely needed to explain itself directly. 6 weeks. The Emperor's Games begin in 6 weeks. Her name is already carved on the roster. The Auctoramentum contains no exit clause. Not illness, not injury. Not the particular quality of silence that fills a ludus cell at the 3rd hour of the night, when a person lies awake recalculating everything. There is no door open behind her. She knew this when she signed, which is the only fact that matters. Because it means the arena wasn't something that happened to Amazon. It was something she chose with full knowledge of the cost. The question Rome never wanted answered honestly is why that cost looked acceptable to her. Why it looked acceptable to enough women like her that a Senate decree failed to stop them, and an emperor eventually had to intervene himself. The answer lives inside a different Roman law entirely, one that had nothing to do with gladiators. Under the Lex Julia de Maritandis Ordinibus, past 18 BC, a freeborn Roman woman who refused to marry faced financial penalties and forfeiture of inheritance. Augustus wrote it into statute. The Senate enforced it. Once married, a woman moved from patria potestas, her father's total legal authority over her body, her property, her decisions, directly into Manus, her husband's control. She could not own property independently, could not initiate divorce, could not refuse her husband's legal authority over her children. The transfer was seamless. Rome had engineered a legal pipeline that moved women from one man's jurisdiction into another's, with no gap between them wide enough to breathe in. This is the part the Senate didn't anticipate when they built Infamia. Infamia dissolved Manus. A woman classified as infamous could not legally marry a Roman citizen. The marriage statute simply did not apply to her category. She fell outside the pipeline entirely. The Senate designed Infamia as a punishment, the most devastating legal consequence, short of execution, they could attach to voluntary arena participation. Some women looked at the full cost and found inside it something the Senate had not intended to put there. An exit. Think carefully about what that calculation required. To weigh Roman marriage law, the transferred jurisdiction, the erasure of independent legal standing, the husband's authority over her body and children, against Infamia, with its blood and iron and permanent classification outside citizenship. And to choose Infamia, that is not recklessness. That is a precise legal decision, made by women who understood Roman law well enough to locate the gap the Senate accidentally built into its own punishment. Cassius Dio's Roman History, Book 76, records the proof. Septimius Severus issued an imperial ban on female gladiatorial combat around 200 AD. The trigger Dio documents. Too many women of noble birth entering the arena. Senators' daughters, equestrian wives, women whose family names appeared in the acta Senatus. An imperial decree is a political instrument of significant weight. Severus did not deploy one against a footnote. Noble participation had reached a scale that threatened Rome's marriage and inheritance structures at their foundation. The Senate built Infamia to punish women who entered the arena. Women walked through it anyway. Marriage was the first arena. The Halicarnassus Relief is a marble slab, 1st to 2nd century AD. British Museum, Room 69, inventory number 1847.4424-9, excavated from ancient Halicarnassus. Modern Bodrum, Turkey. 2 women carved in full combat stance, weapons raised, shields forward, an inscription beneath them. 2 names, Amazon. Achillia, they are the only named female gladiators in the entire archaeological record. Every other woman who fought in a Roman arena exists now as a legal category, a Senate decree, an emperor's complaint. These 2 have names. The marble kept them. Torches throw long shadows across the arena wall. The crowd fills the stone tiers before the fighters enter. 20,000 people pressed together in the heat, already loud before the gates open. Amazon steps onto the sand. The roar hits her chest before she processes it as sound. Across the arena, Achillia moves into position. They have never spoken. They face each other now across 20 feet of torchlit sand, and every person in those stands knows both their names. Achillia advances first, shield arm high, reading Amazon's stance. Amazon drives left, blade crashing into the shield edge. Impact sprays sand into the torchlight. Achillia pivots fast, sword hammering at Amazon's guard. Iron scrapes iron. The Summarudis circles them, watching for illegal strikes. Above them, the Munararius watches from his seat. Every blow landed is a legal proceeding under his jurisdiction. Every exchange documented. Achillia's blade catches Amazon's shoulder. A clean red line opens across her skin. She staggers left, resets her feet, charges. Their blades lock at the hilt, faces 12 inches apart, both breathing hard. The crowd noise reduced to a single sustained frequency. Neither of them can separate into individual voices anymore. Achillia drives her knee forward. Amazon absorbs it, drives back. Achillia's rear foot slips on the sand. Amazon presses. The Munararius raises his hand. Missio. Both fighters demonstrated equal valor. Both survive. Both walk off the sand on their own feet, bleeding, upright, alive. The crowd's roar follows them through the gate. Tens of thousands of Romans witness two infamous women fight under legal jurisdiction in a public arena. The Munararius has documented the outcome. The public display is permanent. The arena entry is on record. 2 more doors closed. What happens next is the part the crowd doesn't see. Amazon walks through the gate into the corridor beneath the arena. Sand still on her skin, blood drying on her shoulder. The roar fades behind stone until it becomes something muffled and distant, like noise remembered rather than heard. She takes one breath in the quiet, and the full weight of what Roman law has been doing while she was bleeding on that sand arrives without announcement. She can no longer testify against any Roman citizen in a court of law. Not because of her conduct, not because of any ruling against her, because her legal category no longer carries testimonial standing. Anyone who harms her faces no consequence she can compel. The courts that process Roman citizens will not process her complaint. She won her fight 20 minutes ago. She cannot walk into a Roman court tomorrow and be heard. Her inheritance is severed. Any family wealth she expected to receive from a citizen's will. Arrangements made before she spoke the oath. Intentions her father may have held for years. The paperwork is void the moment Infamia activated. The wealth stays inside the citizen class. She is outside it, and Roman law does not build bridges back across that line for women who crossed it voluntarily. Under the Lex Julia de Adulterius, she is now reclassified alongside convicted adulteresses and prostitutes. This is not social judgment dressed in legal language. It is a statutory category with specific consequences. The assault protections that cover Roman citizen women do not extend to her classification. The distinction is written into the code with the same precision the Senate used to write everything else. Body is less protected today than it was the morning before she spoke the oath. Not because of anything the arena did to her, but because of what the Senate's paperwork did first. No Roman citizen can legally marry her. If she had children before the oath, their inheritance rights are cut alongside hers. There is something almost unbearable about this specific arithmetic. She's more visible right now than almost any woman in Rome. Her name spoken in 40,000 seats, her face known across the city, her fight documented in stone by a carver who thought it deserved to last. And she is, at the same moment, more legally invisible than she has ever been. The arena gave her an audience. Roman law made sure the audience couldn't protect her from anything. Amazon stands in that corridor and understands what she purchased. She knew the price before she signed. Knowing it and feeling it arrive are two different experiences, and Rome built the gap between them deliberately. Because a punishment that lands only after the point of no return is more effective than one that lands before the decision is made. Somewhere in the stands above her, a senator's daughter watches the gate close behind Amazon. She has already sent a message to a lanista. She knows the cost down to its last legal consequence. She is choosing it anyway, because she has done the same calculation Amazon did, and the other side of that ledger still looks worse. Rome built a law to stop women from making that choice. Women kept making it, so an emperor made a different decision entirely. 200 AD. 81 years after the Senate passed the Senatus Consultum, Septimius Severus issues an imperial decree and Cassius Dio records the political reality behind it. Noblewomen entering the arena in numbers, the Senate can no longer characterize as anomalies. Senators' daughters, equestrian wives, women whose names appeared in the same Acta Senatus that classified them as infamous the moment they signed. The 19 AD decree was supposed to stop this. It didn't. The Infamia classification was supposed to make the cost prohibitive. It wasn't. Rome had spent 81 years watching its most sophisticated legal punishment fail to deter the women it was built to deter, and an emperor finally did what the Senate's paperwork could not. Severus's decree banned female gladiatorial combat across the empire, permanently, no appeal mechanism, no exemption for existing contracts. The ban didn't refine the 19 AD law, it buried it because refinement had already failed. This was Rome acknowledging, in the language of imperial authority, that the legal exit women had found inside Infamia was real enough and used widely enough to threaten the marriage and inheritance structures the empire ran on. An emperor's signature accomplished what 2 centuries of Senate legislation could not. The last door closes. Not with a Senate decree this time, with a name. Before that final door seals, there is one scene the legal record preserves that contains everything. It happens in the arena, in the years before Severus's ban, and it is the clearest picture of what Roman law actually built when it constructed Infamia and handed it to women who were willing to pay the price. A male gladiator kneels before the emperor. The crowd screams. He has survived enough fights across enough years on enough different patches of sand that the Munararius has recommended manumissio, formal liberation. The emperor rises slightly in his seat. He extends the rudis, the wooden sword, polished, ceremonial, the object every man in every ludus across the empire has oriented his survival around. The gladiator takes it. Something moves through the crowd that isn't noise exactly. It's recognition, almost reverence, the sound of 40,000 people witnessing a legal transaction they understand instinctively. He stands, walks out through the gate as a free man, a citizen. Legal identity returned whole. Rome parts for him. Amazon stands in the same arena. She has survived every fight the Munararius scheduled. Missio after missio, honourable release, granted, documented, permanent record. The crowd knows her name. They have been chanting it across multiple games, across months of sand and iron and documented victories. She has bled for this arena the same way he did. She stands and she waits. No one approaches. No rudis extended. The emperor does not rise. This is not an oversight. The legal record is precise about what manumissio could and could not accomplish. A slave gladiator who earned the rudis was freed from legal bondage. Roman law had a category to move him into, a reclassification the administrative record could process and document. Amazon was never legally enslaved. She was legally annihilated as a citizen. There is no category to move her into, because the Senate built Infamia without an exit, and the rudis ceremony has no version of itself that applies to voluntary Infamia. The wooden sword exists inside a legal framework that no longer contains her. Extending it to her would be a gesture without legal meaning. And Rome did not make gestures without legal meaning. The male gladiator walks out a citizen. Amazon walks back through the same gate she entered. Same sand on her feet. Same blood on her hands. The crowd is already calling the next fighter's name. She is somewhere in her 20s. She has won every legal proceeding the arena ran against her. Roman law ensured that winning meant nothing it could give back. She will live the remainder of her life classified. As she was classified the morning, she spoke the oath. Outside the citizen rolls, outside the courts, outside every protection the empire extended to the women around her. There is a particular cruelty in the specific shape of this. Rome didn't punish Amazon by killing her. The arena could have done that and didn't. Rome punished her by letting her survive, visible, documented, named, inside a legal category that made survival indistinguishable from erasure. She is present and she is gone simultaneously. The law achieved both at once. The rudis mounted on the ludus wall, polished, ceremonial, the symbol that meant liberation for every man who bled toward it, and irrecoverable loss for every woman who understood what it could not do for her, will never be extended to a female fighter again. Severus saw to that. The wooden sword is now a historical artifact. Its meaning dies with the ban. Rome didn't protect them. Rome silenced them. The Halicarnassus Relief sits in the British Museum, room 69. 2 women carved in marble, still in combat stance, still gripping their weapons after 18 centuries. The inscription still reads their names, Amazon. Achillia, Missio. Consider what had to fail for this stone to survive. The Senate decree that classified these women as infamous is gone. The the praetors' rulings that logged every legal consequence of their oath are gone. The Lannisters' contracts, the Munerarius verdicts, every administrative filing. Rome generated with the confidence of a civilization that believed documentation was permanence, dissolved sometime in the centuries between their deaths and this moment. What survived is the one thing Roman law had no instrument to process: stone, carved by someone in a provincial Aegean city who thought two women fighting deserved to last, excavated from rubble in modern Bodrum by people who had no idea they were holding the only artifact that preserved exactly what Infamia was designed to destroy. Infamia worked. Rome's legal record accomplished every consequence the Senate promised it would, stripped Amazon of testimonial standing, inheritance rights, citizen protections, the right to marry, the right to be legally visible in the courts of the empire that shaped every hour of her life. The paperwork was precise. Classification was permanent. The Senate built it without an exit, and it held. What it couldn't do was reach into carved stone and remove two names. Amazon fought. She was seen. She was named. The marble confirms all three, not as a wife transferred under Manus, not as a daughter under Patria Potestas, not as an infamous entry in a Senate record that no longer exists, as a warrior with her name intact, still in combat stance after 18 centuries. Still gripping the weapon, Roman law turned into a symbol of everything it could take from her. The law that stripped her of every right a citizen carried gave her the one thing Roman marriage never could: the right to be remembered. How many other names did Rome's records erase that no marble preserved? Rome buried this for 2,000 years, and the empire that came after it built something even more precise and aimed it at children.